Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Gregory. So Gregory, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
So my name's Greg Pellitteri. I live in New York City, and I am, serial entrepreneur, mostly software. And my newest product is called Engage Me, which is a gamified marketing platform that tries to solve a couple of problems. One, helping brands get a better share of the market, and two, helping consumers get compensated for them using the platforms.
Awesome. So I'm just curious more about your background. So that you've been like a serial entrepreneur, you've been in tech for a while. So if you can just tell our audience more about kind of like how you got into this, like into entrepreneurship and tech.
Sure. So I was in banking years ago. I left about 16, 17 years ago. Maybe it might be even longer than that now. Simply because I wanted to do something else. Technology was kind of always my interest category. I was never a dev or an engineer or anything like that, but I had always ideas on how we can improve things for people in general, whether it's a business owner or a consumer, making their lives easier. And that's really how I started getting into it. My first company was a company called Bundlefy. It doesn't exist anymore. Bundlefy, which was a platform that targeted consumers interested in doing business with community banks and credit unions. So it was kind of my products always seemed to be B2B2C. So went well for a while. COVID hit it kind of bad. It was really, we were on our upswing and then COVID came along and it was tough to get over that mountain. And then we kind of put that to the wayside. It was still operating, but it wasn't kind of our focus. And then we came up with another platform that had several names. The most recent name was called Cache, CACHE, which enabled consumers to start monetizing their personal data. Fortunately, we built it a little too technology heavy. We built it on blockchain. It was a bad idea. It sounded like a good idea at the time. It was a bad idea. And unfortunately, we had to put that one to bed last year. And then out of that formed Engage Me, which is a much simpler platform, kind of the same thought process on some level, but much easier to use. AI came along during this time, and I was able to use AI in the platform to build the platform for the internal structure of the platform and to have chats with consumers on behalf of brands regarding their products. One of the issues that I see kind of in the social media marketing space is I think we have this misconception, especially from smaller business owners, that they'll kind of just jump on the social media train and they'll get all kinds of volume, and it's just not there anymore. It's at least it's not as simple as it once was. So I wanted to build a platform that made it a little simpler for them. Smaller brands can engage a lot quicker with consumers. Again, consumers come on my platform for the gamification, and they're compensated in Bitcoin or USD if they want. It's up to the consumer. It gives both parties a reason to be there. One's trying to get business, one's trying to, make some money and find product that they're interested in, get a deeper knowledge of the brand that they're speaking to, and all those kinds of things that I think are important to both brands and consumers these days. So one of the first things I noticed was when I was kind of thinking about this product, I started looking deeply into live social shopping events and things like that, which, Engage Me supports. And one of the issues I noticed right away is even if it was major brands on, say, TikTok, for example, they just don't really, even during their lives, they just don't have impressive engagement. I came across, I think it was Nike. I always say it was Nike. I'm not 100% sure it was, but it was a major sneaker brand. And I remember scrolling through and it popped up, you get those live feeds once in a while when you're just going through your feed. And it must have been for a product drop or something. And I remember thinking they only had I want to say 1,500 people on, or maybe 1,700. And I'm like, this is a major brand on a billion person platform. and they're not even pulling it in. For a small brand to think they're even coming close to those numbers is just, just not happening in general. So I wanted to build a platform that gives consumers a reason to come on, for example, a live social shopping event, or just to kind of scroll through and see what's going on. It's categorized, and they have, the chat. Of course, they can chat with the brand. So that's kind of like where it came from and came back up to this point. Again, I'm always trying to solve problems that are real to both sides of the equation.
For sure. And then I guess obviously there's other platforms that are similar like in the market today. So what kind of differentiates you guys between your competition?
When you say similar, there's kind of similarities in other platforms. Nothing quite how we do it. There's a couple of secret sauce pieces that, of course, I can't go into. We have how this platform is set up. First of all, it's very simple for a brand to set up. It takes them all of 20 minutes and they're fully set up. It reads their site. They knows what their brand voice is and all that kind of thing. So that's a big differentiator for the brand side. A lot of kind of the chatbot platforms are just using canned response. They're not really using live interaction like we do. And I believe in intelligent interaction, right? It can't just be one side. Like if you're having a conversation with a consumer, we need to step away from those propensity models and step back and say, okay, hang on. The consumer is telling us first person what they're looking for. Let's not put too much propensity into what no one goes to a steakhouse and, you're wearing a blue shirt and they're like, I know you'd like a New York strip today because you're wearing a blue shirt. Well, it's not how we operate in society. So getting that first party data, using the AI as well as possible, and making sure that the consumer understands the gamification, which is a big part of it. And I want to make it interesting for both sides. So there's products coming out, there's features coming out in the product that for the brand that kind of makes it more interesting. We have something called Engagement Boost, which is a feature that will allow a takeover of the entire engagement platform by a certain brand for 5 or 10 minute intervals, depends on what package they have. When they do that, we send out a message to, it's really for product drop stuff. So we send out a message to all their people that would be in their demographic group that are on the platform. And we say, hey, listen, this brand is about to do a product drop. They're going to take over the site for 5 minutes. Come on over. They have deals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of building that excitement instead of just trying to shove product down people's faces. One of the things I always notice is TikTok, who arguably has the best algorithms on the planet for this stuff, and it still doesn't work. I'll give you an example. You're swiping through, and you're looking at puppies, and then you get an ad for a salad spinner. No one is stopping for that ad, or some other random product. I mean, it is just, TikTok Shop is great. I don't have anything that's bad to say about that. I just think the ad placement is very strange. So, for me, what I keep saying is, why be the commercial when you can be the feature? On my platform, we feature the product. You're here for product. I'm not going to pretend, it's not like I'm saying you're here to watch puppies and I'm going to put product in front of you. This is, you're coming to the platform for product, for marketing. That's what we do. Now, I wrote an article a long time ago called The Billboard in Your Pocket, which is just kind of a observation of, we all buy $1,200 devices and then they just become marketing platforms. Really the only use case out of texting and phone call, the real use case for it is to become a marketing device. So if I told you, I'm 30 blocks up from Times Square in New York City, and if I had a billboard in Times Square and I was like, no, I just let brands advertise on them for free. What are you talking about? That's the craziest thing ever. Somehow, over time, we allowed that to happen with our cell phones. And I think that's something we have. I'm not saying push back from it. It just doesn't need to be, confrontational. It just needs to be, let's all kind of play in the same playground and make it work for everybody on some level. Right? Marketing clearly inside the data funnels is the most valuable part of the data funnel. I think cleaning up a lot of that data that we've been using for years, it is so muddy and horrifyingly poorly constructed at this point. And just kind of generalizing, but for a big part of it, it's just terrible data that's out there right now. And that's why people end up with getting advertised for things they have zero interest in. Maybe sometimes the interest level peaks because they see a product, but I just think there's a better way for us to all do this. So using first party data, getting brands in front of consumers that they're interested in talking to, giving brands that can't get space on other platforms, for example, cannabis industry, crypto, it's very, very difficult for them to advertise on Google, Facebook, well, Meta in general, and TikTok. They just don't want them on there. I don't know why. I can be conspiratorial about it. I'm not 100% why they don't want them on the platform. They have plenty of dough, and they're not doing anything illegal. So there's this gray area in there that they just don't want them on there. So for me, especially from the cannabis industry, I don't understand why it would be such a difficult time for them to advertise on Google AdWords. In Google Ads, it just doesn't make sense. For me, I want to make it open for those kinds of companies to come on the platform, show your product, get consumers to engage with you, so on and so forth. So, my concentration is a lot of finding those brands, finding those kind of industries, categories inside industries, because some of them aren't, it's not even the whole industry that can't do it. It's just a category inside an industry. Finding them, getting them to get on the platform and start helping them market their product better than they are now.
Makes sense. Obviously, with any marketplace, you like the chicken and the egg problem. Right? You have to get like the brands and then also like the people. So how are you kind of going about getting and onboarding both sides of the marketplace?
So here's how I do. So the brand is the tough part. So here's the deal. So once I talk to someone and explain the platform, first of all, it is super low cost right now. The growth package, which is the package that most people take, is $299 a month. There's a 30% kind of founder deal on it, and it comes to $209 a month. This is not breaking the bank for anybody. And that's it. It's a flat fee right now. That's how I'm keeping it until I get to probably around 500 brands. Then we'll start changing the product structure, the pricing structure a little bit. But I want it. So once I talk to a brand, it's a pretty easy sell. It's not a long process. I always say if it's more than 3 phone calls, they're probably not interested in this, and they're just kind of placating me at that point. Because as a business owner, Dan, $209 a month, it's tantamount to zero for most companies. Even if you're doing a little business. And listen, this is not an overnight solution. I tell everybody, I'm very honest. I get you on. It takes a little while for us to build the cohort and then get that traffic over to you. It's not an overnight thing, but I have to at least show the consumer that you're on the platform before I get started. So right now, my sole focus, and now that I hired a new engineer, so I don't have to engineer everything every day by myself. My sole focus is on getting as many brands on the platform as possible. Now, I have to also, at the same time, bring consumers on the platform so that there's kind of an even amount of consumers for brands. I am not 100% sure on how the ratio works out right now. Is it 1,000 customers for one brand? Is it 1,000 consumers for one brand? Is it, 10,000? I don't know. We have really good engagement right now, though. People that come on the site stay on forever. For whatever reason, they have a lot of chats. They're chatting with the bots. We're getting, I actually last week, I had to throttle one of the brands back because they're like, you're sending too many leads over to us because it was too much for them to handle. They're a small new brand. And they were like, we didn't know it was going to be this quickly. And they were on for about 2 months before that started really picking up. And, so finding that balance between getting enough brands and getting enough consumers. So I kind of go back and forth. Like this week is sales week for me. Next week, I'll go back to consumer week. I have a lot of tricks and secret sauce on consumer acquisition. Unfortunately, on brand acquisition, there's no easy way to do it. And Dan, with a B2B company, there's no easy way to get 2 brands. There's, you can do some email outreach and these things and that things. It's really just building up some kind of network that gets the flow back to you. On the consumer side, though, I have a lot of kind of tricks that I use, using AI, using a lot of methodology that is not used right now. I think it will be in the future. I think that consumer acquisition for application, a web app or native app, is going to be very different in the next 2 or 3 years because of AI. I got to be honest, I think Google has a problem. Their marketing spend, I think they will see the brand marketing spend go down significantly for them on just those ads. Listen, the big guys are going to stay in there, right? So the big banks, the news organizations, all those things are going to stay, and they're going to pay ridiculous amounts of money to run Google ads. I tell brands all the time, if you're less than $10,000 a month in Google ad spend, you're probably not getting anything out of it. I mean, especially if it's competitive environment. I have a lot of clothing brands and product brands, so like face products and stuff. I'm like, you're competing with Saks Fifth Avenue and Sephora at that point. Like you're never going to beat them in a Google race. And there, of course, there's other ways of doing it. Social media is a huge part, but even then, I see this dwindle of engagement on social media influencers. So everyone's going towards micro-influencer because it just works better. They have a better engagement rate. You can get a lot more of them and spread yourself over a bunch of them instead of getting one major influencer. So I think we're going to see a lot of change. I also one of the products that we're building into this is using my AI to have conversations inside Instagram with consumers on that platform, and then we're going to see if we can get the information to transfer back and forth. Right now, there's a lot of bot doing it, but I think one of the major issues right now is people don't understand the difference between kind of chatbot and AI. So AI is understanding things. It's about learning, not about programming, and the chatbot is about programming. And I think in the industry, I'm not sure that everybody's understanding the difference on those two things because they seem similar at first until you get deeper into a conversation.
Makes sense. So obviously you've been doing this for some time. If you could go back in time to before you started this business or even before your entrepreneurship journey, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Try it. Just keep trying things. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, first of all. I think you have to have that. There is some ego in it, but you need to keep driving forward and look for how can I help society move forward, not slow it down. And I think those are the things that I realized over time that it's just the perseverance is the most important part of being an entrepreneur. Listen, I could, last year I had a year and a half ago, whatever it was, I had a company fail and I could have walked away and got a job, with my head down, just, a bit sad, but I didn't. I was like, you know what? I said to myself, I'm going to make something else work. And you pick up the pieces and you put it back together, even though it's always difficult. But the trying part is something that I think society doesn't do anymore because no one likes to fail. So I failed my whole life. So I wasn't a good student. I had dyslexia. School was not for me. And it made me, sorry about that. It made me feel and not fear failure as much as most people do. People that got straight A's in schools don't want to be a failure. And people that got C's and D's, we always fail and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. So I think making sure that I know that I should be trying everything is the most important.
That's awesome. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, wanted to be on your platform, if any brands are watching this, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess best ways to get in contact.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Very easy. You can email me at gp@engageme.com, and it's ENGAGEMII.com. You can email me there on the LinkedIn. It's Engage Me on LinkedIn. Or honestly, if anybody's interested in give me a phone call, 516-528-5617. Just give me a buzz. I talk to people. I'm on the phone, 18 hours a day, something like that. So the phone's always ringing, as you can see, as I'm sitting here. So feel free to reach out and we'll chat it up and see if we can get you on the platform.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Dan. I'll speak to you soon.